CPS tore my family apart, and I've got a trauma broken heart. And the ones I love, they tore them from me, my kids in need. I never thought I could trust again. I felt so alone and broken, and I needed someone to help me heal. Teach me how to love and feel beauty from ashes. There's hope when we come together. We'll raise this family. We'll teach them how to love and how to feel safe again. We'll raise this family. CPS tore my family apart, and I've got a trauma broken heart. And the ones I love, they tore them from me, my kids and me. I never thought I could trust again. I felt so alone and broken, and I needed someone to help me heal. Teach me how to love and feel beauty from ashes. There's hope when we come together. We'll raise this family. We'll teach them how to love and how to feel safe again. We'll raise this family.
Hi everybody, happy Monday. Welcome to Beauty and Ashes. I hope that you guys all are having a good week so far. So thanks Darren for the new song, I love it. So I wanted to talk today a little bit more about Hi John, you did. I didn't. Our show started a little late tonight, but that's okay. That is totally okay. So let's talk about this a little bit. This is a subject that I am seeing come up more and more and more. What will happen if we succeed in our goal of tearing CPS down? Do we put another system in place, or is there a better way? I personally believe that there's a better way, but it's going to take time, it's going to take education, it's going to take healing, and it's going to take a community effort. So I just kind of wanted to talk a little bit about that tonight, about community. I think a lot of you have heard me talk about circles, so I'm going to go through it again for some of you out there who may not have. Feel free to jump in on the comments. I love to interact. This is more of an interaction. I like to think of it as our little fire circle here on the internet. So feel free to jump in at any time. So just going over circles, we've talked about this before, but it kind of ties into some of the other things I want to start talking about here. So your circles are your circles of trust. Your first circle is going to be the people who are closest to you, and they're the people who you're going to trust no matter what. Typically, they will be your spouse or your partner if you have somebody that you are with. They can be older adult children. They could be but like really close friends. They can be other family. They're the people that you know if you call on them, they will show up. They are the people who are respectful of you and your boundaries. They are the people that you can tell anything to without judgment and will support you and help you find a way. So they can be different for everybody. Now, if you are with somebody, yes, John, better way and better system. Hopefully not a system though, and I'll explain that. So your first circle is going to be those who are closest to you. Now, the idea behind this is to choose your first circle by the character qualities you want to see in others. You want to see them being honest with you. You want to see them having integrity, showing up when they say they're going to show up, doing what they say they're going to do. You want them to be the ones that care about you, to call you out, but not necessarily to judge you. You want them to be supportive of you in your healing journey, and you want them to be people that you can rely on. Now, healing always starts with you. Your community starts with you. So it's important to ask yourself from the very beginning, am I a person I would want in my first circle? Am I that person for other people? So you want to make sure that your first circle is strong. Now, they can be different. Like, for instance, if you are with somebody, your spouse or your partner, you can have different circles. I have different people in my first circles than my husband has in his. And some of that is intentional. Some of them overlap. But I'm not going to call up his first circle dude friends and cry them a river about all the issues I have in my life. Not going to happen. I want to go to him first. And likewise, he's probably not going to call up my best girlfriend and be all like, my life's in shambles, blah, blah, blah. Be kind of silly. So you can see, like, there's some people that are kind of the same for us, and there are some people who are different. Now, I know that some people that are in his first and second circle, I would call up in a heartbeat if there was an extreme emergency, and I would say, hey, we've got a problem and I need help, and they would be there right away. But that doesn't necessarily mean that they're mine, they're his. So they can differ. They can be the same. They can be same people, but they can also differ, and that's okay. So that's your first circle. Hi, Chris. Hi, Debbie. Hi, Andrew. I'm so glad to have you all here tonight. Okay, so that's your first circle. Your second circle are going to be probably family, close friends, people you would have in and out of your house, but maybe aren't like the closest people to you, but they're still people that you can generally rely upon. They can be neighbors, they can be good friends of a family, or something like that. Your third circle is going to be, hi, Chris. Your third circle is going to be people who are a little more on the outskirts, people you interact with, but maybe aren't as close to. They can be coworkers. So you kind of pastors, people you see at church every week, but aren't necessarily having over to your house. But they're people you interact with regularly, and you have a relative trust of them, but you don't know them like so well that you would call on them for everything. Your fourth circle is going to be strangers or people you interact with very little. So they can be like your mailman or the cashier at your grocery store or your banker, people that you do see often enough to recognize, but they're not really people who are part of your integral life. Now, fifth circle is reserved for people who either just cannot behave themselves in a respectful manner, or treat you poorly, or just need more time to heal themselves, and just it's not working. My sister once put it away that really made sense to me with one of her exes. She just said, our traumas are not coexisting well together. And I truly believe that's for some people that just happens. Your traumas just don't coexist well together. And sometimes you need some separation so that you guys can go on a different journey apart. There is nothing wrong with walking out of somebody's life if you need to. There's nothing wrong with somebody walking out of your life if they need to. Fifth circle can also be something where like you were friends for a long time, but you drifted apart. It could be, I just need to walk away for a while, or it could be, this person is just extremely toxic and I don't want anything to do with them. Fifth circle people can come back. It can take time to rebuild trust, and it can take time and work to rebuild that relationship. But the circles are fluid. I explain this to my kids all the time. Like, these are your safe people. Your first and second circle are your safe people. You can move somebody out of your first and second circle at any given time. Your fifth circle people are not safe people for whatever reason. Those are people you don't necessarily go telling your whole life story to. And the reason I explain it to the kids this way is because, one, I want them to know who the people in their life are that they can call on and trust and they're okay to talk to. And two, I want them to be cautious about other people and what they say to those people and who they're talking to. So setting it up this way has been really super helpful. Now, why do we need our circles of trust? Well, the point to this is we want to start building community, but we want to start building healthy community. This is not to say that anybody in your circles has to be perfect. Like your first circle, people are going to make mistakes. It happens. We all make mistakes, right? So, a good point of measurement is to figure out, all right, this person made a mistake or this person wronged me. If I go and speak to this person about it, are they going to take accountability for their actions? And are they going to take steps to change? Are they going to help? Like, are they going to allow you to help? Are they going to make the changes? Are they going to do the work? That's a pretty big measurement. Now, I would say, you got to give people the opportunity for that. Like, it shouldn't just be a, whoa, you really messed up, one and done. Now, you can absolutely say, this is a problem for me and we need to work on this, but you don't necessarily need to just like toss people out left and right. We want to build community, but we also have to have some compassion and understanding for people. Yeah, sometimes, John, you have friends who are really close for a long time and then they kind of drift to acquaintances. Some of that can be distance, like if you move to a different place and they're just far away. I've experienced it a lot with some of my friends as we've had children and we've had to raise families and stuff, and we do it a little bit differently and it just doesn't mesh, and that's okay. They're still wonderful people. That can also happen. So those are just some ideas, and the idea is to start building community, but you want to build healthy, strong communities. And I think that if we start to do this amongst ourselves and we kind of start sharing this with people, eventually it starts to hold people accountable. So, and it holds, like, I use this for my children all the time. I hold them accountable. Like, I will tell them, hey, this behavior is not okay. This is a fifth circle behavior. We don't act like this to the people that we care about. And it helps to hold people accountable. Hey, Dallas, good to see you. So with that thought in mind, when you are choosing your circles, you want to choose well. You want to choose wisely. And you want to build a community that is going to be supportive of you and your family and is going to be a safe community. But it also helps to hold each other accountable. Hi, Amy. I'm so happy to have you. Welcome. All right. So now we're going to talk a little bit about boundaries. So what is a boundary? A boundary is, it can be kind of like a wall or a fence. There's different types of boundaries. And this is super important to understand when we're building community because everybody has boundaries. Boundaries can be solid, like a wall that isn't going to move, or boundaries could be a little more like a fence with a gate where it's there, but you can get through it. And boundaries can also be just like, it could be anything. And boundaries can change. So a boundary could be anything from don't walk into my room without knocking, or it could be something as simple as, you know what, I feel really touched out tonight. I really don't want to have any physical contact for a while. I need a break. It could be something that you yes, Dallas, boundaries are good. um, so it could also be a boundary. It can be a boundary that you put on yourself, or it can be a boundary that you put on others. A boundary on yourself could look like, I'm going to eat this apple, but I'm not going to eat this orange until later. Or it could be something like, I'm only going to read 2 chapters tonight and no more. If you're a reader, which I am. So, like, boundaries can be different for everybody. You get to choose what your boundaries are. Obviously, we want to teach children healthy boundaries. And your circles contain boundaries. Like I explained earlier, you're not going to talk to your third circle people, like your coworkers and people at church and people that you interact with regularly but aren't really, really close with. You're not going to interact with them the same way that you're going to interact with somebody in your first circle in your home. So, children, and this is something we need to think about, because if you're having children come home, which we're hoping to see soon, you want to start thinking about this for yourself and for your children, because you want a safe and healthy environment, right? So the idea is to set up boundaries, guidelines, rules, whatever you want to call them. Hi, Brenda. I'm so glad to see you. So you want to set them up, and you want them to be realistic, and you want them to make sense. But you also need to learn how to communicate them. So if, say, one of you has a boundary, don't call me before noon, for instance, and I'm calling you at like 10 a.m. every morning, that's the boundary I'm crossing. That's a problem. You don't want that. However, if you have not said to me, hey, Sharon, I really need my mornings to be quiet. I don't like waking up. It takes me time, and I would really appreciate it if, you would call me after noon instead of before noon, and that would really help me out a lot. Okay, now you've communicated that with me. Now I understand. Now if I call you at 10 a.m., I'm really crossing a boundary, but I'm not only crossing your boundary, I'm crossing the boundary that you communicated to me. Now we have a huge problem, right? And this is the sort of thing I tell my kids now. That right there, that is fifth circle behavior. If I have communicated a boundary with you and I expect that boundary to be respected, and if you're not going to respect it, then we have a problem, right? So this might be news to some of you. Some of you may have heard this before. This was actually where I started in my healing journey years ago. Was learning boundaries and learning how to communicate boundaries, learning how to hold boundaries, and learning how to hold people accountable for respecting my boundaries. And that is not an easy thing. A lot of people are not taught that. A lot of this can be really new, and it can be really hard to work with. And this is where we have to have some grace for the people in our lives, because not everybody has the same situation, right? And not everybody has learned the same things. We're not at the same part in this journey. So, Brenda, I have a few children. My bio children are 11, almost 12. Actually, he'll be 12 next month. 12, 9, no, 10, 12, 12, 10, and almost 9. There it is. They're kind of in that tween era. I've got a couple older stepkids, so I claim them. They're absolutely mine to love. So, so anyway, so this is, and children, they are technically, like, they're not first circle, but they are first circle because they are being raised first circle. Like, when you're raising your kids, you want to teach them these things from early on if you are able to. Now, I know a lot of you out there are in a situation where you're separated from your kids and you don't get to have this, and that's a real frustration, and like, it's completely heartbreaking. But I want to talk about these things now, because when we accomplish what we are trying to accomplish now, and your kids get to come home and you get to start building these relationships with your kids again, like these are important skills that you are going to need and you're going to want to have implemented in order to help yourself and your children heal and move forward in life. Yes, Brenda, boundaries are so important to relationships of any kind. Um, really, truly. But being able to communicate those boundaries is huge. Yes, Andrew, it is not just heartbreaking, it is atrocious. I am in complete agreement with you. So I'm trying with this show, and you guys are more than welcome to share your hurt and your heartbreak and everything else. Like, this is your safe place. You can vent. I got no problem with that. I'm doing my best to try to kind of keep us on more of a healing path, and I don't want us to stay in trauma forever. This is not a fun place to stay. And sometimes when you're stuck in trauma too long, you can get really caught up in what they call a victim mentality and have this idea like the world is against you and everything is horrible and it's going on forever, nothing's ever going to change, and you can really lose hope really fast that way. And what I want for all of us is to have hope, because when we have hope, there's still possibilities out there. And that doesn't mean that we don't have hard days, and that doesn't mean that we don't get depressed, and that doesn't mean that there are days we just don't want to get out of bed. It does happen. But I really want us to focus on looking towards the future and hopefully, seeing some positive changes in ourselves and in the people around us. Hi, Kelly. Welcome. So, and this is a big thing too. I mean, when you're talking about building community, which is what we're going to need if we're going to succeed in building community, like you want that. You want to know when your people are hurting and they're upset and they just need a little extra support, and you want those people around you that you can talk to about that and be able to rely on to help support you through that. So these are things that like we really need to think about and really need to hopefully we'll see some change. I mean, this is not hard, and this is especially hard. So what I have noticed just by experience that I've experienced myself and by talking to a lot of you and hearing so many stories is going through a CPS case is truly isolating. This is not easy. This is hard. The rest of the world believes that you've done something wrong to have your children removed. If you were a foster kid, the world believes that your parents did something wrong to have you removed. I mean, like, this is extremely difficult, which is one of the reasons why I wanted to have this show in the first place, because I want you guys to have somewhere to come, so to where like you have a group of people who understand. And thank you, Brenda. Yes, sometimes I forget to breathe. All right, there we go. So, yes, everyone turns their back. Yeah, it does happen, Kelly. I've seen it over and over and over where people just like, they don't believe you. They don't listen. They don't hear you because they are conditioned to believe something else entirely. Now, I was explaining this to somebody else this last week, but here you have CPS here, right? They're kind of almost in the middle of everything if you think about it. So you have CPS here, and then you have all of their little nonprofit organizations around them that support them, right? You've got like the CACs, and you got like parenting classes, and you've got adoption agencies, you've got children's foundations. Like, unfortunately, we've connected so many of these things together. It's horrible. But also, okay, so you also have our system. And our systems are all interconnected. So you have not only CPS here with all of their little buddies, you've also got teachers as mandated reporters. You have doctors and nurses as mandated reporters. You've got therapists as mandated reporters. You've got first responders as mandated reporters. You've got cops as mandated reporters. You've got there was one more in my brain, but I guess it left. So you've got all of our systems, the ones that we grew up believing were good for us and were there for our benefit, they're all mandated reporters. And I'm sorry, but people are not perfect and people are make mistakes, and there's a lot of money involved in this. Like there's a lot of money involved in this. And it is yeah. Excuse me. It's a lot to take in and it's a lot to absorb. But knowing that, I mean, it's my personal opinion, and you can do with it what you want, but it's my personal opinion that we don't actually need these systems, and in fact, we don't really want them anymore. I can understand where some people come from wanting them, but education, everybody has the potential to educate themselves. Absolutely. You have the ability and the skills to educate yourself. If you don't, you have the ability and the skills to get the ability and the skills to educate yourself. Quite frankly, if you can read, you can learn anything. If your reading level isn't necessarily where you want it to be, read a lower level. Start somewhere. You can read kids' books. I do it all the time. They're a lot more fun. And you have the skills. You have the ability to educate yourself. So if you have the ability to educate yourself, and I truly believe everybody has the ability to educate their kids, I don't care what anybody says. There's one system we don't actually really truly need if we figured it out. Hi, Sam. So that's just one example. But we're so conditioned to believe in these systems. If we actually started building communities the way that we're meant to, we would have a much easier go of it. And then we wouldn't have to depend on all of these systems. And then we wouldn't be isolated from our children and our families by government agencies who think they know better than us. And that's exactly what they do. They isolate you. And then on top of the isolation, you have to deal with the shame of it, which is no fun, because then you have to explain to people why you're going through a court case, or why maybe your kids were removed, or why things are the way they are. And that's not an easy thing to do, because that's really embarrassing and horrific and hurts. And you don't want to do it. I mean, I went through it. I know. It's not an easy thing to pick up that phone and say, hey, I need some money because I have to pay a lawyer, because I don't have the money to pay a lawyer, and I have to, because otherwise they're going to take my kids away. It's not an easy thing to say, hey, CPS came to my door and they're making all these accusations, and no, I didn't do anything, but they seem to think I did. And then have the whole world tell you, well, obviously you did something wrong, because that's just not true for most of us. This is just not true at all. So, no, Andrew, the founders did not authorize this. In fact, I think they had a completely different idea in mind when they put things together. Yes, coercive control, absolutely, you are not wrong. I completely agree with you there. So I'm just kind of flipping through. I missed some of your comments down here. James, 100% of people come into your life to help. Sadly, 99% is to help themselves. That can absolutely 100% be the case. And I have seen that happen as well. I have been betrayed by many types of people. And this is why I teach about circles, because building your circles is based off of observation. And seeing how people act and react. And have you ever heard the term, you teach other people how to treat you? It's very, very true. If you are not learning where your boundaries are, how to communicate them, how to hold them, and how to hold other people accountable when they cross them, then you are 100% teaching them how to treat you. I'm sorry, it's true. But you have to take the time to figure that out for yourself, and you have to learn how to communicate clearly and concisely what your boundaries are. And then you have to be brave enough and strong enough, and you have to have the knowledge to be able to hold that boundary and hold the other person accountable for the fact that they crossed that boundary. Hi, Tamsin. Yes, without a criminal investigation, they are 100% acting outside the law. You're not wrong. Federal agencies are not constitutional. Texas to traffic our kids. Unfortunately, yes. This is what we're finding. A lot of these agencies are not, in fact, constitutional. Yeah. So, yes, Tamsin, you're right. CPS has a Dun and Bradstreet number. Yep, you are not wrong. You are absolutely right. Unfortunately, that is the sad truth that we're living with, and it's not great. Which is why I want to have us focus on, all right, we've got all that figured out. We do. We have that all figured out. We know, right? We know that all of this is absolutely true, that our systems are corrupt and that they're in it for the money and that they're trafficking kids and everything else. We know. What are we going to do about it? How are we going to overcome this? How are we going to heal from the trauma they've put us through? And how are we going to overcome what they've done to us? I think it's very easy to fall into the hole of, yeah, John, exactly. Do unto others as you want them to do unto you. Correct. Do unto yourself what you would have others do unto you. That's another one. If you think about it, how are y'all treating yourselves lately? Are you taking the time to heal? Are you taking the time to help yourself overcome some of this trauma? Are you taking the time to care for yourself? It starts with you. Nope, there's no due process, perjury, or there's obstruction of justice. Yep, all of it. You are not wrong. Yeah. So how are we going to overcome it, though? That is the question, because we're there. I mean, we're there. Our lawsuit will make an impact, and things are going to change, and we're going to fight for it. And restitution, prosecution, yeah. So okay, so there's the thing, is like, we have that half figured out, Tamsin. We do. We've got this lawsuit filed. We've got lots of protests going on. We've got lots of rallies. People are starting to learn and figure out how to work with the courts, how to file, and how to represent themselves pro se. We've figured some of this stuff out. Now it's a matter of implementing it. But what are we going to do on the other side of that? That is the question I am asking here. What are we going to do on the other side of this? Because we've all been extremely traumatized. We've all been isolated. We've all been kicked down. We have all been treated like trash. We have all been ignored and discarded. And we've been made to look bad. We've been made to seem bad. Sam, I'm super proud of you too. There will always be more to do. You will never stop healing. Unfortunately, trauma is a lifelong thing to overcome. And that is why this is a healing journey, and it's not just an overnight thing. We're talking about a journey here. Where do we start? So that's the question I am posing here on my show, is where do we start from here? We've all been through it. We've all been in the trenches here. We all know what this does to us, to our kids, to our families. We know that there's so much pain to overcome and so much trauma to overcome. Like, we know. You tell yourself you're in training for a battle for your daughter. That's amazing. Good job. Exercising and therapy is great. Getting your self-esteem back, it's important. Yes. Yes, you are very right, Kelly. And that is the thing. We need to start now. We need to start now before the kids start coming home. Because what are you going to do when your kids come home if you're still here in this trauma? Yes, Sam. The idea is to get the parents to get their power back legally and then decide from there. Correct. Yes, takes growth. Thank you, John. We appreciate it. We are doing the best that we can. Yep, take care of ourselves and each other. So where do we start? Sam, if I knew the answer to that, I'd tell you. But honestly, I don't think the answer is the same for everybody necessarily. But this is what I'm talking about is we're going to have to start building communities because we're talking about taking out an entire system here, an entire system that everybody out there is conditioned to believe is doing something good. We know that's not true. We know it's doing the exact opposite of good. We know it's tearing people apart and it's completely like destroying families and mind, body, spirit. Yes, you're right. Correct. Yes, humans are mind, body, and spirit. You got to find a way to connect them. Yes, Tamsin. Family has the right to feel safe. Yep. Good sleep. Yeah, good sleep. How many of you are getting a good night's sleep? I know some of us are not getting great night's sleep. Lots of trauma to deal with. And that is actually a PTSD thing. When you have gone through a traumatic event, and a lot of you probably are out there with high functioning depression and CPTSD and things like that. When you have something like that, sleep is hard. Sleep can be really, really hard. And especially if you're in the position of your children are not with you, because yeah, that's going to cause a huge sleep disturbance in your circadian rhythm for sure. Yes, Tamsin, the idea is not just to survive. You do need to thrive. So right now we're all surviving, right? Because we're still all in it. We're still going through it. But I think we're going to have the opportunity to thrive, but we need to get there. Yeah, Sam, I know. Sleep is hard. Yeah, well, I know. It is, yeah. Not with you and 2,000 miles away. Yeah, I don't know who's 2,000 miles away from you, but that's a lot, Kale. It's a lot of miles. Yeah. So I mean, sleep. That's yeah. PTSD is definitely something to overcome, and but that's the point. Is we're all there, right? We know. We know this is hard. This and nobody's gonna tell you otherwise around here. Heck no. So it's hard and you are going to have issues. So, oh no, Kale, your son is 2,000 miles away from you. That's horrible. I'm so sorry. I am so sorry. Um, so that's, mm, there goes my brain. So that's actually also, a sign of trauma. And you'll see me do this a lot. Gunnar sometimes does it too. When we're in the middle of a thought and we're trying to think through like what we're saying, and then it just goes. You'll just see it fly away. We'll go, I don't know where that thought went, but that's okay. That is also a trauma response. So if you're finding that you're having a hard time remembering things or you're losing thoughts in the middle, like that's perfectly normal for a lot of people. So, um, but and that's bonafide brain fart. Yeah, hun. That'd be Gunner in the back room there, guys. Yes. Very much so. So that's oh, that is so rough. going through their birthdays and not being able to be there with them, that's horrible. That breaks my heart. I don't like that at all. That's just, it's not fair to them and it's not fair to you and it's not right. Forgiveness is a huge part of healing that's mandatory parents to do before children return. Sam, I somewhat agree with you on that. Forgiveness though can also be a journey. That's not going to be just like an overnight thing. And okay, so I want to put this out there. Anger is not the negative emotion that a lot of us were taught to believe it was. Anger serves a purpose. And being angry, especially in a situation like this, is perfectly acceptable and completely understandable. It is okay to be angry. It is okay to be frustrated. It is completely okay. And it's, again, completely understandable. And you have the right to that. Now, what you do with that anger and frustration is another matter entirely. Like, you don't want to lose control. You want to keep boundaries. You don't want to go off the deep end, right? But I mean, you're definitely talking about some severe trauma, Sam, and forgiveness is absolutely important, but that's going to be a big one for a lot of people. And I mean, I think that it's a good thing to work towards. Like, I'm not saying forgiveness isn't, but I do think that sometimes we push forgiveness with the idea that we shouldn't be angry. Yeah, Sam, sometimes you don't make good decisions when you're angry, and that can be true, but it's still completely acceptable to be angry. So, what probably can and needs to happen is when you get angry, you have to find a healthy outlet for it. Like, a lot of people will exercise, like run their anger out. Some people write. Sometimes I will write things out when I'm feeling really angry, and then I'll tear it up or burn it up, and that helps. Um, John, yeah, I can't say that I disagree with you because what doesn't kill you makes you stronger, I guess, right? Like, we're going through a process here, and yes, it can make us stronger, but some people it doesn't, and it can definitely cause more trauma than good at first. But that's the point, is if you go down the healing path, then it can absolutely 100% make you stronger. And exactly, care for mental health together. And that's exactly what I'm trying to do here is, I don't have all the answers, and I'm not here to tell you all the answers. I'm here to kind of give direction and ideas. But I won't know all the answers for all of you because we're all different people in different situations. We have a lot of similarities, maybe. But I also know that there's not a lot of people out there who are willing to support people who will go through these cases. And I mean, I don't know how many people say, they were going to a therapist and the therapist was less than understanding. I had that. I had that myself. That yeah. See, there it goes again. Woo. I had that experience myself with a therapist. They just, because they're kind of sort of part of the system and they're mandated reporters and everything else. When CPS gets involved, it's like, oh, well, you must have done something. They're just doing their job, right? And that's a lot of the attitude towards us, which is why I'm so glad that you guys are here tonight and are here, because that's exactly the purpose of this, is giving you guys a place to kind of air out a little bit, talk about some healing ideas and goals, and let you all feel like you're not alone, because I know how lonely this can be. Yes, Kelly, it takes a lot of strength to jump from negative to positive in this process, but you know what, I believe that every one of you has that potential. And maybe you're not there right this minute, and maybe it's going to take more time, and maybe it's going to take a lot more effort for some of you. But I 100% absolutely believe that all of you have the strength to jump from negative to positive in this process. I absolutely do. I think that all of you are capable of more than what you realize. And I think that there have been people out there telling you otherwise. Yes, John, being able to let the past stay in the past and accept it becoming a part of yourself. Now, that's a lot harder when you're still in the middle of it. It's a lot harder when you're still in the middle of it, but it's not impossible. Kelly, I'm really glad that the support helps and that it's been a game changer for you. That's been my whole hope with this space, was that it will at least let you guys feel supported and heard and seen, and that you're not alone, and that there is hope, and that, we can start building community and start doing this together. We don't need all these government agencies tell us what's up. I mean, who are they? They put their pants on in the morning, left foot, right foot, left foot. I mean, they're just people too. They're not God. They're not infallible. They're not superheroes. They like to think they are some days, but they're not. So, and that's kind of what you've come up against, is this God complex that these caseworkers have, this idea that they know what's best for you and your kids in the long run. And unfortunately, most of them have not even had kids of their own. So that's something that you kind of have to face the truth and reality of as well. I know parents who were sent to parenting classes that were taught by people who aren't parents. I don't know how that makes sense to anybody. Oh, that's right, John. I forgot that you're in Canada. Oh, I'm so sorry. It sounds like you guys are having a really rough time up there. Oh, goodness. And narcissism. Yes. Well, okay. So that's actually a really interesting point, Kelly, because I was just saying that to Gunnar the other day. I said, do you realize that CPS really kind of works like a narcissist? Like, they really do. They completely gaslight you into believing and like completely questioning yourself and your reality. And they definitely make you look bad. Like they definitely have some narcissistic traits in their little agency, don't they? No, Andrew, we really don't need our taxes going to attack us. We need our taxes going to feed our children, especially with food prices these days. Yeah, Lisa, exactly. He wasn't a parent. How do I heal when I'm completely alienated from those I love so much? Okay, I hear you with this one. Especially when we're talking about our children, especially as mothers. Now, fathers, I am not discounting your part in this either, but mothers do have a very special bond with their children. I mean, we had to carry them in our bodies and everything else for how long? And then to have them ripped away from us, that's just completely devastating. And again, that's not to say that fathers aren't feeling a lot of the same things, it's just a little bit different. And how do you heal when you're completely alienated from them? I don't think it's impossible. Again, healing starts with you, and you are responsible for your healing. This goes back to boundaries. Your trauma came from outside. Your trauma came from somebody else, some other entity, right? Any kind of trauma usually comes from outside. But healing is your responsibility. And only you can help yourself heal. Nobody else can do that. So I think it's really a conscious decision in whether or not you're going to choose to start trying to heal. Now, I don't think you're going to heal all of those wounds. There's just no way that you're going to heal all of them. And it's not an overnight thing. It's going to take time. It's a journey. But where can you start now? Just because your kids have been torn away from you does not mean that you don't deserve to take care of yourself and to work on yourself and to have you time and everything else. I know there's a lot of guilt and there's a lot of shame that comes along with that, but you're fighting a battle here, okay? Soldiers can't go into battle unless they're in a good place, right? You don't want to be sidelined because you're wounded. You want to be there to fight for them. So you are going to need to heal some of those wounds, especially if your kids come home and you are able to reunite with them and have your reunification process. You're going to want to start healing some of those things now before they come home, because you're going to have to stand up for them and help them heal. They're going to have they're going to need a lot of support. So, yes, the entire complex is a mob. That's an interesting thought. Yeah, you didn't know how to not be a mother suddenly, right? I know. Like, what is that? All of a sudden, you're not a mother anymore? Well, guess what? That's not true, because you are the mother of your children and they can't change that. They can take them away from you, apparently, and they can turn them against parents, apparently. But that doesn't change the fact that you're their mother and you're still here to fight for them, right? Would you ever give up on them? I know a lot of mothers out here who are still fighting, even though their children are adults. Like, we don't give up for our children. The fact that you're here tells me that you are still a mother. Like, you still have the spirit of a mother because you are still here fighting. I have no idea what the 17th Superior Court time is, John. Is that your case that you're talking about? I know you said something in one of the other shows about having a court date coming up. Yes, Kelly, exactly. Forgive yourself and giving yourself grace. Those are so important. In fact, that probably ties into what Sam was trying to say earlier. Forgive yourself first. You didn't do anything wrong, right? You didn't do anything, but I know that they make you feel like you're guilty. And yeah, give yourselves grace in this journey, you guys. Like, this is not an easy thing at all. No trauma is going to be overcome in a night, and no trauma is easy to overcome. Again, it's a journey, it's a path. So this is something that, is going to take a lot of time and a lot of effort. Be patient with yourself, and that's okay. And it can be baby steps. It can absolutely be baby steps. For instance, make yourself a water chart and start drinking more water in a day. Do you know what that does for your brain? It helps a lot, especially with some of that mind fog. So this is something maybe we can talk about later too. People in trafficking adjacent systems have no conscience to allow the trafficking to occur. It's not so much that they don't have a conscience. I think it's more they've been trained and they've been brainwashed a specific way. Most of our caseworkers out there actually truly believe that they're doing something good. I don't think a lot of them understand or recognize the extent of what bad that they are doing. And I've even heard caseworkers say, I did not realize. Their training is very specific. It's the same for foster family. Okay, so let's talk about this just for a minute, because I know we're getting close to time. But your foster families go through a very specific type of training. Like, they have to go through training before they can even be a foster family. CPS lies to them just as much as they lie to you. Those families, I'm not going to say every one of them, because not all of them, we know they're not created equal, and some of them are absolutely horrible. But some of those families, and I have known a few, actually get into it with all of the best intentions, not realizing what they are getting themselves into. And because their training is a very specific way and they're only getting messages from CPS, and CPS obviously keeps a very specific wall between biological families and foster families. So you're only getting your information from one side. And a lot of foster families don't realize that there's a parent on the other side fighting to get their kid back. Like, they just don't. All they know is, oh, it's an emergency situation. They need to place this kid really fast because they've been abused or neglected, or for whatever reason. And that's also why we hear of a lot of foster kids being difficult, because you've just ripped a kid away from their family. I mean, of course they're going to be difficult. But then foster families don't know what's going on the other side. They don't realize that this child is, like, missing their parents and wants to go home because they feel loved and safe there. Like, they don't understand that. So I think especially going forward, if we're talking about unification, reunification, and everything, please be considerate and aware of the fact that if your kids have been adopted out or have been in foster care, not every one of those families is in it for bad reasons. Like, some of them are genuinely caring people who want to help, but they don't understand what they're a part of. And so when we come up against this is going to be something for all of you to consider, a case by case basis, obviously. Um, yeah, I was talking to Sam about this earlier. We want you to have your power back as parents. You deserve to have the rights to your child. I will stand by that 100%. But once you get your power back, it's going to be important to consider where your kids have been and who they have been with, and whether or not those people have been a positive thing in those children's lives, and like consider whether or not it's going to be better for that child to maintain contact with those people for a while, um whether or not, like, because I know the feeling of like, well, that's my kid, it's mine, and I don't want to share, and I don't want, whatever. But your kids, it's not their fault. They didn't cause this, and they can be further harmed if you go in there guns blazing and tear them away violently from other people who they may have come to care about. And I don't know that that is the way. I absolutely 100% stand by your right to have your kids with you. Don't get me wrong. I just think case by case, as we go through this, you all need to consider this when the time comes, how to handle that. Because that's going to be part of their trauma healing journey too. How did my parent who got me back deal with this? Do unto others as you would have them do unto you. Do unto yourself as you would have others do unto you. Don't cause more harm. Put child's needs first, otherwise you traumatize them again. That is a possibility. That is not always the case. We know that there are other things that have happened, and we know that there are some people out there who aren't in it for good. That's something that you guys are all going to have to come to terms with and work out with your own children when the time comes. None of us can tell you what to do, but it is something to consider moving forward, because you don't want to cause more pain to your children. You don't want to cause more trauma. That's the whole idea here, right? Is you want them back because they've already been traumatized. You want to help them heal. You don't want to create more trauma. So, and that's something only you guys can answer when the time comes. You guys will have to look at that, the whole picture, and see what's going to be best. So, all right, loves, I guess that's the end. And I'm so glad that all of you were able to show up tonight. I really appreciate our time together. Thank you for those of you who have interacted and given your points of view. I love interacting with all of you. And I hope all the best healing for every one of us moving forward. And I will be back next Monday. Have a good night.
And you're not alone. Here we turn silence into a home. Each tear becomes a drop of truth. Each truth becomes a sacred root. We teach the soul to breathe again, to walk, to speak, to rise, to mend. You are not your trauma. You are not your past. Let it rot. You are love, you are light, you are soul reborn. You're the calm in the eye of your own storm. On beauty and ashes, we say your name. We hold your pain. We light the path until you can walk it on your